over to you, Anton, for your case study.
Yes, thank you, Henry. So, I'm gonna quickly walk you through what kind of happened for me over the last 8 weeks or a bit more. And I will. It's like clustered in the weeks and the goals that I had for the week and what I did in the week and kind of the outcome of the week. So we started at I call it here week 0 because that was kind of what we did before even jumping into our problem. That was like creating a list of potential problems that you can think of. The resolution here is quite bad, but what I kind of did is writing problems that just popped to my mind in a little session, and then coming up with who are the people that could have this problem, and starting very high level and then trying to get more detailed in every niche, and then also like looking at how acute this problem is. So do people actually have that problem, or is it just me that thinks, wow, this is a problem? So what I also did here, just as a quick sanity check, is like talking to some friends and asking them, hey, do you think that is actually an acute problem? And there were like 10, 8, or I don't remember, but a few problems. And I talked to people that I thought could have this problem. And then they were also like giving me good feedback on maybe what their solutions to the problem is, or what kind of other products they see in the market that would solve that problem. And I abandoned a few. I looked at a few other ones. And then I, at the end, came to the conclusion that the biggest problem that I see right now, at least for the ones that I had here on the list, was finding a flat in Berlin, which is a problem you stumble across like almost every day. Somebody's looking to find a new apartment. You see it on Instagram, you see it in colleagues like sharing their posts, hey, do you have an apartment, so forth and so on. And not only looking, but also then people being very frustrated during this process of finding an apartment, as in getting the documents ready, as in having the time for visits, as in, it's annoying here. The time consumption it takes. So this was kind of week 1. I focused on this problem. And then in week 1, the goal was to actually validating that this problem is a problem. And for that, I conducted more than 5 interviews actually, and mapped out the key frustrations that people had when looking for an apartment, and then translating this into opportunities. So here you can see, there's like on the left side, you see the kind of the interview guideline that I had, and then on the top you see like the person that I talked to, mainly friends, colleagues, also other people that I know from the past that had that problem. I reached out to them and said, hey, I have the course going on, and would you be willing to talk to me about this? And it was very open conversation, but I kind of tried to always have the same questions so that it has kind of a structure. And what I found here is that the key frustrations, for example, are dealing with bureaucracy, people that are not German or are moving to Germany for the first time or don't speak German, they have that language barrier problem. There are a few platforms in Germany, obviously, but they're all in English. They're all in German, sorry. And people just dealing with the language barrier, that is already a problem. Then, of course, lack of time. If you have to write 100 applications for flats, then obviously that becomes a bit of a problem. Also, there might be apartments popping up on these platforms, and you have to directly react to that, send it out, because 5 minutes after, the apartment might already be gone. So you kind of have to monitor the platforms 24/7 to make progress there. And then, of course, finding the right offers is a problem, right? So you don't want to just have any apartment. You kind of also want to have something you like and that you might enjoy for a longer time, right? Then, of course, the market is very overcrowded. I think that was a main finding. It might be kind of obvious that that is the case, but in a city like Berlin. But anyways, I wrote it down here. Then in Germany, we have like a rule that you should only spend a third of your salary on flats. So that might already rule a lot of people out, because the income, well, also in Berlin, it might be a more special problem, is not so high, but the rent is very high, right? So the ratio between rent and salary might actually not match this rule in a lot of cases. And then also for people that, well, want to spend more money on their flat and might actually have that kind of money, they still have this problem. So yeah. Then, of course, single persons struggle more. I think background here is also that, well, and then homeowners want to have more stability. They are looking for 2 salaries, for example. So for single persons, it's a problem. Then people looking at the first time in the Berlin market, they have the problem that they don't know which is the right platform to look at. So there are a few. But of course, if you are new here, then you don't know what the right one is. And then, of course, yeah, kind of the root cause is that well, there are not enough flats in the market. Yeah, and this translated then into opportunities. I won't go through all of them here, but find the ones that are most acute. And I think convenience here is really king. I think inconvenience is included, for example, that you don't have the language barrier, that you have a solution that doesn't consume that much of your time, that you have kind of a guidance through the whole process. If you're new in Germany and in the city, you might just not know what the process looks like, right? So some kind of guidance here, the language barrier, and yeah, I also wrote down here tailored offers that are really, well, tailored to what you're looking for, right? So the product vision was, at that point, we find you an apartment in the most convenient way. So very, very straightforward. And well, there was a second one that I tried to test at some point. It was like, we make landlords come to you. I don't know if that makes sense in English, but it was like turning around the process, right? Right now, you are looking for an apartment, and I was thinking maybe you can just turn this process around, and you have your profile on a platform, and the landlord picks you. Yeah, and then the product strategy that came out of this is, we get you an apartment in the most convenient way by providing tailored offers and guidance in the process. I think this is the main outcome of week 2. What we also did is the product story canvas here. And I think also a fun thing that I did on the side was a fake door guerrilla research, I call it. So what I did is I just hang a few of these out on the street and saying, hey, are you looking for an apartment? And then having a QR code here. And what happened when people were scanning this apartment, they got to a survey which had the main frustrations from up here, from the research. And kind of what I wanted to find out is just which is the main frustration here. And you see, getting bureaucracy was a big one. Lack of time was a big one. The biggest one was finding an apartment that actually meets your requirements. So I took this outcome and went to week 3. And here the goal was to identify market gaps. So really see what other products are out there. And then also seeing, which are the gaps. So where can my product come in and well be great, where other products might not be great, right? So you don't want to do anything that is already out there. Obviously, you want to like see where is the gap. What do you want to do that others don't do? And so I looked at the market, and this is the so-called blue ocean strategy here, and I mapped a few competitors, and then kind of found out that here on this right side there is the the blue ocean, so the gap in the market, and that would be convenience and success rate, as in how many successful signatures you get per reached out to a landlord. So yeah, and then of course transparency in the process, that's also a big one. So what happens in Berlin is that you reach out to, let's say, 100 landlords, and you maybe get one reply, and for the other 99 you just don't know what happens. And to test that, and to test the minimum viable offer, I built a landing page that had this minimum viable offer on the starting page, which was, we find you an apartment in the most convenient way by providing tailored offers. So that was like kind of to get people into joining the beta. And what I also did here is having a reach out campaign. So I created an Instagram profile with a bit of content on it, and then ran ads. So I kind of had two versions of this, also with a bit of a different minimum viable offer and a different content. Put some little marketing budget on it, and reached out to, for the smaller one, 544 people, and for the bigger one, 3,200 people. And when they were clicking on the ad, they kind of got to the landing page, to this one, and then were asked to join this beta. And then they also got a survey in the end, which kind of contained the same questions that I had in the beginning. And out of, here's the traffic. So we had 27 out of the Instagram campaigns, and 149 unique visitors. And out of these, 25 people signed up to join that beta at some point, and 10 submitted the survey in the end, which is interesting. I mean, the conversion is, you would say, quite low, right? I mean, 3,000 people saw the ad, or even a bit more. But also it's quite tricky to get people to sign up to something that is, I mean, the page is.
Just to clarify that, so you 20 euros spend, and you got 100 website visits. So cost per click was around 20 cents.
Yeah, so 150 visitors for total 24 euros budget. Yeah.
Understood. Okay.
And so what I did with that is then translating this into the product evolution and the product roadmap. So taking all the frustrations that I researched in week 1 and the opportunities that came out of this, and then also prioritizing what would be the most important ones. So kind of which ones do you want to do first, which ones have a low effort to develop, and then what do you want to do later, because it might have a higher impact, but it might also have a higher effort. And I think the goal should always be to be quick to market. So you want to do the ones that have low effort first, right? You don't want to start with a big one. You want to start with a small one to then also get feedback from the market. And out of that, a nice product roadmap was generated. And I think here it's really have this transparency, have a solution that is in English, and turning this process around. And then I also in week 5 looked at the customer journey that is out there at the moment. And I also separated into explore offers, visit apartments, and getting documents ready. So kind of a 3-step approach. And then also had this little indicator here to really see where are the key frustrations, where do people drop off, what are they struggling with? Because I mean, exploring offers might not be the problem, right? everybody can do that. But then later in the process, this is where the tricky stuff comes in. And then out of this, I created a kind of app flow first in wireframe, so to map out what a flow of an app could be, and then also building a Figma click dummy with that. So there I kind of designed a whole click dummy as an iPhone app, and tested that then later. I don't know. We are almost over time, right? So, what I did
takes 3 minutes extra.
Yeah, then I will. Oh, that's the design. Let me do this here, and then we can quickly have a look at the app and see actually how it looks like. Because I think that's the main thing here. So yeah, this is the click dummy, and there was the whole process of how the whole apartment search would go down in an app. And here you can also see what I did in the user journey is that this 4-step approach of completing your profile, completing your search profile, visiting apartments, and sign. And I think also key here is really to create this transparency. I will quickly click through the account creation steps here, because I think this is not so interesting. I think what's interesting and what people also really liked about this app is to have all documents in one place. So at the end of step 1 of creating your profile, you could also upload your documents like passport, like last 3 payslips, which is always asked for in Germany. Also, your credit score, visa, if that is applicable. And we have a no rent debt confirmation. So if you rented an apartment in the past, you always have to get a piece of paper from your past landlord that you're not in debt with them. And you could upload all that in the app and then share it with whoever you want to apply for. And you would also see down here, this is kind of the transparency part of this app. What's the status of all this, right? You uploaded it, somebody reviews it, and then it's verified. And then also the landlord would see that, and would see, okay, this is a profile that is kind of verified and that could sign a contract right away. And then step 2 is your search profile. So what square meters you want to have, how many rooms, what's your max rent, and so forth and so on. And then in step 3, you would book your visit. So here you would then get your offers so landlords would see your profile, would say, okay, this is a potential tenant that I would let move into my apartment, and they would kind of push you the offer, and then you could have a look at the apartment, book an appointment right in the app, book that appointment. Then the next step is actually going to that visit. And if everything goes fine, you would have the contract right in the app. Could click on the screen here, view the contract, sign the contract right from the app, and everything's done. So that's the app. And I think people really liked it. People were also very surprised with the convenience of it. So I think it takes some education still. For example, why certain documents are needed, or also really explaining that that's everything they have to do, right? Because right now it's a big pain to get an apartment, and having this and having it working would actually be a surprise, I think, to most of them. So I think there's some education around this, and I think this is also what I've seen in the interviews that I did. And I also ran the what was it called, Henry?
Product market fit engine.
The product market fit engine, exactly. So people were kind of rating how they liked the app. So would they be sad if it was gone, or would they not be sad? So basically, don't care if it exists or not. And the score here was 4.4, which I think is quite solid. And yeah, I also asked, who is it for? What do people believe? Who's this app for? What's the main benefit? And what is still there to improve? In the word clouds, you cannot see that it really saturates here. I think the only thing that saturates is like it's for young people, which kind of makes sense because they are digital natives. They use apps and they can upload their documents and so forth and so on. This might change, I think, long term, but for the other stuff, I think there are some tweaks here and there that I might want to iterate on. And
so what,
yeah,
sorry, just on that, what are you drawing from the feedback you got in terms of benefits and what to improve upon? Were there, you know, obviously there wasn't something that stood out, but are there a few sort of key things that you're...
Yeah, I think what stood out was the nice design and the convenience of the app. So as a positive, and I think as a negative that stood out was it needs more explanation. Why are certain things needed, right? People are scared to give away their data, for example, salary information. Yeah, so there I would probably have a pop-up or anything explaining, hey, people want to see how much you earn, if you actually can afford the rent. This is why we need this kind of information.
Okay, understood.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and this was the conclusion of the course. And yeah.
Awesome. No, great. I think yours is one that I found very interesting from the beginning because it was a big challenge, right? You know, it's very busy space, particularly looking at the Berlin market. So I think it was very interesting to hear how it's concluded. Good. I'll go through some specific feedback on the case study and then just some sort of general points from the last 8 weeks. So I thought, I mean, it was very good. It was really good, actually. Specifically, you gave good context when you introduced the problems. I call this bridging, right? When you went from, okay, you sort of introduced all these problems and then it made sense when you went, okay, then we focused on one problem. You gave context of why you felt, you know, that might be a good starting point. And then the same thing with the first set of objectives and key results. It was clear, you said, great, we wanted to know, you know, is this a real problem? So a very simple explanation, which is perfect. And then the key results, you know, what are we doing and why? This is good. You talked through the specific examples. One thing to improve upon there that I felt was a slight lack of storytelling. So, you know, for example, you gave the bullet point of here are the frustrations that come up. What really helps at times is going like, you know, say, for example, I spoke to one guy, John. He said he'd written 100 applications and only one landlord had got back to him. So see how it adds color by sort of personifying the example at times, because that really helps somebody remember it, because they're going to remember John stuck, frustrated with these applications, rather than the 5 or 6 bullet points you talk about. So small thing, but I think that's going to just lift up your presentations. On the insights generally, I thought they're really good, really interesting. It's very interesting to see some of the market and culture specific ones. So like that 1/3 rule, you know, it doesn't exist in the UK. And I think for people here, it's more like a 50% rule. So I thought that was very interesting to hear. And also you're showing the value of being specific with your market. You're showing the value of how the markets are different as well. Well, it sort of implicitly sells product discovery to anybody listening, because you're basically going like, hey, we wouldn't have learned that unless we'd spoken to people, for example. I thought you did a very good job as well of going from the discovery calls into the strategy and talking about, you know, you zoomed in on convenience and tailored offers. And I think that's so important because, again, people aren't going to remember many things when you present. So hammering home, and you came back to these points as well later, just, you know, keep repeating the same thing of, right, here are the 1 or 2 things that are really important. I've talked about this before. Right? If I do, you know, with the mentors now and again, we might do like a ideation session. I will always start by going, what do we care about? Hands-on and effective mentorship, right? These are the 2 things that we do really well, and we want to keep doubling down on those. So part of leadership is not just, you know, being good. You're very good on the strategy stuff, but it's just repeating the same messages time and time again. Even when you feel, people have got the point. Good. Yeah. Again, that visual journey, I thought I've mentioned this in the feedback, with your assignments, that visual journey is excellent. That's so important. In your case, somebody could come to this board, understand everything about this and go off and build this product, because you've been very good about connecting things and making it very clear and uncluttered. So I thought that's great. The guerrilla marketing, I thought, was great anyway. I thought it was a good idea, but also it just shows the value of being lean. So again, if you're sort of selling to stakeholders who might be a bit apprehensive of this kind of thing, just go and do it and show the results. And again, that results talk. So that was great to see. And I think talking about it's great because you're just showing, look, we can do all this stuff in a sort of messy, lean way. We're still going to get really valuable data. On the blue ocean, I thought this was good, but it wasn't, you didn't, so you mentioned, okay, what, this is where we find a gap in the market. It wasn't actually that clear to me. I don't think I would have been clear if I hadn't known this framework, what we were talking about here. So for example, you didn't signal to me. So a better way to do it is go, so, we looked at a blue ocean to try and differentiate, right? To try and see where there's a gap in the market. Now we saw that it's really busy with this point, and this point, but actually we saw two specific areas that we think we should focus on: transparency and consistency. So just sort of signaling a little bit better there. The MVO, the content was good, but you didn't actually say what it is, right? So you just said, oh, here's the MVO. What are we trying to do with that? Basically, we want to say that message of, okay, it's a minimal viable offer. What is that? Essentially, what we want to do is show, before we build a solution, like, are we sort of offering something that the market values? Right. So once we validate that, then we're going to start thinking about solution. Again, it's like, you have to always think, why is somebody listening, like, why should they care about this thing? And do they understand it? The conversion on the web visits is very high. So 20 cents per lead is very good. Excellent is sort of 20 to 40. So you're at the lower end of that. So again, it showed great indications that this is a really acute problem and you've got a compelling offer, which I sort of felt anyway, right? But that's really hard to do. So I think congrats with that. What else? Yeah, the learnings were very interesting from the product market fit engine as well. I love the Figma, the click dummy. Again, though, if you're presenting in a different context, just say, like, what is a click dummy? What are we trying to achieve with that? So again, it's showing that message, like, hey, we're trying to save resources by testing out a solution before we actually go and build it.
True.
Obvious to me, obvious to you, not obvious to someone that doesn't work in product all the time. Good. Okay. And then, sort of zooming out in terms of general points, I thought an interesting one that I'd like to hear from you, like, after the 8 weeks, like, what did you feel the core value was for you? Like, if you reflect on all of the things we covered, what do you feel is the sort of main takeaway for you?
Yeah. So I think really, in my professional life, you come into a project that might already be there, and then you pick it up at whatever point and you drive it forward, right? Yeah. But it's also very likely, and I had that in the beginning of my career. I had that in the beginning of my career. Now I really wanted to take this course because it's like from week zero with coming up with problems, right? And then you drive it forward from there. And then also as a product manager, you guide people through this process, but you most likely don't do all the stuff that I did here and that it takes to develop a product yourself, right? You never build a click dummy yourself. You normally have a designer for that. You don't create service. You don't do user research. You are always involved in all of this, but you never do it all on your own. And I think it's great also if you're leading a product team to know what it takes to do that, right? You get the understanding of what are people actually doing when I ask them, hey, what's the key frustration with finding an apartment? Yeah. And I think that's the main value here for me. And going through all this process and then also very condensed 8 weeks is a short time, right? I think that's yeah. Nice.
No, I wanted to ask because I thought it was, was really interesting because, I thought this was probably the best product that came out of the best process of the 20, or I think it's 22 on this cohort. And so I was interested, like, your perspective on it. So, I think the reasons why specifically, I thought the consistency of vision was very strong. So I think you early on had a good idea of what was going on and stuck with that. And that was reflected in the Figma prototype. A lot of people lose focus when they start moving to a solution. I think you stay very focused on that. So that was, that was a great thing to observe. And I think the reflecting also, it's the strategy, the rethinking of the problem, and really flipping it on its head and coming with a compelling offer that's backed up by that data on the adverts, again, was very, very strong. And I think, it's interesting to hear your response. I suspect now you're going to be very militant on, if you're sending someone to go and research, or if you're working on a strategy, what I'd like to see, and I think you'll probably just do this anyway now, is that same focus. So it's like very disciplined about, like, we're here, we're not trying to do everything, we're just focusing on this area. So I thought that was very interesting to see. It was a great, very effectively done. I think now you're going to sort of see someone comes back to you with an unsatisfactory answer about the customer research they've done, that you push them to really delve into it. So I thought that was an area where you really excelled at. And I think the second thing is, the shaping of your own playbook, I think, was something that I observed, things like this, right? You going, right, yeah, there's a PowerPoint, but actually I think it's going to be better in my case to do it on Miro. I don't care, right? As long as the outcome's the same, great. So I think I sort of saw that development as well, which was great to see. In terms of things to improve, I thought it was just very, like, mature. Again, it was the best in terms of the strategy that made real sense. The steps of the roadmap made a huge amount of sense to me. And I think only thing to improve, which is a small thing, just that storytelling. It's great to be clear on the points we're making, but again, to add a bit of color at times. And that can be, whether that be like, again, presentations, I'm not naturally like trying to be energetic and things, but I do it because it's more engaging. Or again, giving examples of John with his 100 applicants just helps people remember these points. Again, if you're conveying a strategy, it's going to help people remember it. You don't need to repeat it so often. So I think that's the one area I'd say, just to sort of keep reading up on, keep practicing. But apart from that, I thought it was a very, very complete performance.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, Anton, congrats as well, making it through the program. I'm going to send through your certificate.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can meet for a beer at the next, when we finally get to do an in-person meetup in Berlin. I know Chris
definitely we should do that. Yes,
to meet in person as well. So I think we'll do something in May. I think we're just going to wait until early summer now.
Cool. Yeah, thank you, Henry, also for like being a great mentor and keeping the motivation up. There was definitely there was the dip that you announced, but in the end I kind of got out of it again. And I think really talking to people, checking your product with them also really helps getting that motivation back up, because normally, I mean, if you ask people what their frustration is and then you show them a solution, they're normally happy, right? So I think that really helped me. Good.
No, awesome. Again, I'm really happy with your case study actually, and the product that's come out of it.
Cool.
So good. Yeah, we'll stay in touch over Slack, and hopefully see you at a meetup in the next few months.
Cool. Yes, let's do that. Awesome. All right.
Well, have a good weekend as well. Speak soon.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Ciao.